It all began with a group message from Chloe. Family summit tonight, 7 p.m. in the scullery. Family? There were only the three of us in this dwelling, and only one of us footed the bill to keep it standing. I didn't respond, just brewed a kettle of tea and set out 3 mugs, pretending it was a normal evening. Liam came down first, already sporting that practiced, rehearsed smirk. Chloe trailed behind, clutching her mobile like a presentation remote. They didn't sit down. That was my initial hint. "We've been conferring," Chloe started, her voice a little too saccharine, "and we believe it's time to talk about contributions." Contributions? I repeated, more to my tea than to her. Liam stepped in, as if they'd rehearsed it. "You've been staying here free of charge, Mom, and we're delighted to have you, but we believe it's only equitable that you begin assisting." Chloe nodded, her lips pursed tightly. "Just half of your retirement fund, that's all." I gazed up slowly. Chloe leaned on the counter as if she owned it. Liam couldn't meet my gaze. "My retirement fund," I said. "Correct," Chloe affirmed. "You're not paying rent, you don't cover groceries, you utilize the utilities. We're not attempting to be cruel, it's just fair." Fair. This dwelling? The one with the cracked window pane Liam broke when he was 12? The creaky step he used to sneak past at night? Remained intact because I had toiled for 33 years in academia and never missed a mortgage installment. The bedrooms where they slumbered? Painted with the same hue I chose when I thought I'd get on in years in tranquility. I gently set my tea mug down. The clinking sound echoed in the stillness. "If we're going to be fair," I stated, "then we ought to begin with the deed." Chloe blinked. "The what?" "The deed," I reiterated. "You want half of what comes in. Let's discuss who possesses what we're standing in." Liam cleared his throat. "We're just attempting to assist in managing things more effectively." I smiled. Not the kind that's sincere, the kind that precedes a downpour. "Very well," I said. "Then we'll manage it appropriately." And I rose because standing up makes people heed more attentively. I was 52 when the doctor said, "aneurysm," like it was a weather report. My husband was deceased before I even got to the hospital. Liam was 5. He slept soundly through the night, unaware that our world had been turned upside down. The insurance payout was minimal, and grief doesn't make bills vanish. I went back to work that Monday, assistant registrar at the local high school. Long hours, a tight budget, no room for mistakes, but I learned how to make a dollar stretch until it practically screamed for relief. I prepared lunches from scratch, mended Liam's coat, and gave up vacations for several years. I saved every additional paycheck, every state tax return, every extra stipend from tutoring. This house, the one with the lopsided driveway and the sunroom that leaks every other spring, was all my own by the time Liam turned 25. No assistance, no second income, just slow, persistent endurance. When Liam phoned me last year and told me that he had lost his job, I didn't hesitate. "Of course you can come home. Chloe too. You just require a few months to get back on your feet." I truly meant it, and I believed it. They moved in with 5 cartons, 2 laptops, and more grievances than gratitude. At first, I didn't mind. Chloe talked a great deal, but she did clean. Liam offered to mow the lawn on one occasion. I told myself they were just getting settled. Then months went by. Chloe began referring to the spare bedroom as our room. Liam started leaving plates in the sink as if I had always been the housekeeper. Their resumes collected dust. Their bills went unpaid. They bought takeout food and concert tickets, but never offered money for the electricity. 14 months later, and I still haven't seen them purchase a single roll of toilet paper. They discuss the future as if I'm not a part of it. When we repaint the scullery, when we refinish the floors. I never gave them a key. Liam copied one anyway. I stood in that scullery after they went to bed and gazed at the framed photograph above the sink. Liam, 6 years old, holding a hammer and smiling beside the first wall I ever patched up myself. They don't know whose house they're standing in, but they're about to find out. Looking back, it wasn't one event, it was a sequence of them. Subtle things, easy to ignore if you wanted to. Chloe had started asking questions several months ago. Harmless at first. How does your pension get deposited? Is it fixed or adjusted for inflation? Do you have a beneficiary listed? I chalked it up to curiosity. She liked to appear clever, always had a podcast playing in the background, always citing someone else's opinion as if it were scripture. I indulged her. Then came Liam. He started helping with the mail, picking it up before I could, sorting it, discarding envelopes he said were junk. I once caught a bank statement, half torn and stuffed under a cereal box in the garbage. When I questioned him about it, he smiled as if I had imagined the whole thing. Just another credit card offer, Mom. I wanted to believe him, but then the whispering began behind their closed doors. Late at night, I'd walk past their room and hear hushed tones, stops and starts. Words like schedule, transfer, and get ahead of it. Still, I waited for something that couldn't be rationalized away. It happened on a Tuesday night. I couldn't sleep. The wind had picked up and the tree branches outside my window scraped like fingernails on glass. I got up to make some tea, and as I passed the staircase, I heard Chloe's voice. Once we obtain the deed, she said, we'll talk to that assisted living facility, the one in Oakwood. It's clean and they let you tour the rooms. I froze. Liam muttered something in response. I didn't catch it. I didn't need to. Assisted living, not retirement, not downsizing. They were planning where to send me after they got my house. I went back to bed and lay flat, my eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling, hearing every tick of the clock like a countdown. The following morning, I got dressed as usual, smiled when Chloe handed me my mail, poured myself a cup of tea, and I called my legal representative. The next morning, I told them I had an early appointment. Chloe barely looked up from her phone. Liam grunted something that passed for acknowledgement. They never asked where I was going. My legal counsel's office is 20 minutes away, nestled between a coffee shop and a dry cleaner in Brighton. I hadn't been there in almost 2 years, not since I set up the initial trust. Back then, I still believed in equity, still thought Liam just needed time to mature into his role as a man. I sat across from Marianne, my attorney, and told her plainly, remove him. She didn't flinch. She just nodded and opened the file. Do you want to add anyone else in his place? No, I said. I'm not in a charitable mood. She smiled softly and got to work. We updated the revocable trust. I remained the sole trustee and beneficiary. No transfer on death, no survivorship clause, nothing that could be twisted later. Then we went further. The house, the pension, the investments, all locked under my name with specific restrictions. No co-signers, no family claims. If something happened to me, everything would go to a private scholarship fund I had once contributed to under a different name. It was cleaner that way, easier to safeguard. It took an hour. No theatrics, no what-ifs, just signatures and stamps and a strange, chilly serenity that settled in my chest like winter air. When it was done, Marianne looked at me. You don't want to notify them? No, I said, not yet. I drove home slowly, observing the trees blur past the window. When I pulled into the driveway, Liam's vehicle was gone. Chloe's sandals were by the door. Laundry was overflowing in the hall basket. The house smelled faintly of scorched toast and lavender cleaning product. Hers, not mine. I folded the new documents into a locked drawer. Then I poured myself another cup of tea. Let them continue thinking they're in charge. Let them continue whispering about deeds and future plans. I was done reacting. Now I was preparing. Dinner was unusually silent that evening. No passive-aggressive remarks from Chloe, no loud chewing from Liam, just the clinking of silverware and the hum of the dishwasher in the background. Midway through, Liam cleared his throat and said, Hey, Mom, There's this article I read about some kind of deed transfer that helps with taxes. Like, if the house is in your name but intended for family, you can sign a simple form and it saves everyone trouble later. Chloe didn't even attempt to pretend it was casual. She kept her eyes on me as if she were waiting for a tell. I wiped my mouth, took a slow sip of water, and nodded. You should send me the article. He smiled as if he had just won something. Later that night, while they were both upstairs, I walked into my study to grab a pen. The drawer where I kept my files wasn't open, but it wasn't completely shut either, just enough to make me pause. I pulled it out slowly. The folder with my updated trust was still there, but misaligned. The edges weren't flush the way I always left them. Then I noticed the safe. It's small, old, nothing special, but I know how I leave it. The lock was turned one notch off, not closed tightly, not locked at all. I opened it. Nothing was missing, but something had been handled. I turned toward the kitchen. My tea shelf, meticulously arranged by habit, was shuffled. One of the canisters was backward. Another had a Fillita jar. I stood there in the silence of my own home and realized they'd been everywhere, not just snooping, but searching, looking for something they thought they were entitled to. I stood there for a long time before I turned out the light. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed listening to the stairs creak as Liam went down for something, probably a snack, perhaps another look. I didn't stop him. Let him dig. Let him dig until he finds out what it costs to underestimate me. They departed on a Friday afternoon. Chloe yelled something about traffic and leaving before the storm arrived. Liam grabbed a duffel bag and barely said farewell. The front door slammed shut behind them. I waited 10 minutes just to be certain. Then I got to work. The locksmith showed up at 2:15. By 2:45, the front, rear, and side doors all had new locks. I gave him cash and didn't offer an explanation. He didn't ask for one. By 4, I had packed up everything that wasn't mine. Clothing, electronics, kitchen gadgets they never used but insisted on keeping. I stacked it all in the carport, neatly beneath a plastic cover with 2 bricks on top. Chloe's name was written on one carton in thick black marker. Liam's was etched into a cooler lid. Nothing was damaged, nothing was discarded, just relocated. Then came the paperwork. The first envelope contained a notarized 30-day eviction notice. The second held a spreadsheet I had printed from my old budgeting software. Every mortgage payment, grocery run, plumbing repair, and utility bill I'd covered in the past 14 months. Their names weren't listed even once. I sealed both envelopes and placed them in the mailbox by the curb. It clicked shut with a sound that felt conclusive. Back inside, I brewed fresh tea, the kind I liked, the good leaves I kept concealed behind the flour. I sat in my usual chair by the window, my feet tucked under me, just as I used to do when Liam was small and ill and slept on the sofa. The wind picked up around sunset. Leaves tumbled across the porch in crooked lines. The house was quiet in the right way again. No blaring podcasts, no arguments over takeout orders, no fake laughter echoing from rooms they never tidied. Just wood. Air. Steam rising from a proper mug. They thought they were building a future here, but all they'd done was wear out their welcome. And now I was prepared to show them the distinction between residing in a house and owning it. They returned just after 10 o'clock. I watched from the upstairs window as they tried the door, pulled at it, then turned toward each other in confusion. Chloe pounded once,
Liam took out his phone. I didn't go downstairs. By the time I finished brushing my teeth, I had 3 missed calls and 7 messages from Chloe. By midnight, the number had leaped to 17. "What the hell, Anya? This is unlawful. We're getting a legal representative. You'd better reverse this before we come back with the police." I didn't respond. At 6:13 a.m., Liam emailed me a PDF with the subject line, "Proof of Shared Ownership." Attached was a forged gift agreement, sloppily typed, formatted, and dated 6 months ago. It claimed I had willingly transferred 50% of the property to them. My name was signed at the bottom in a version of my handwriting that looked like someone had copied it from a birthday card. I gazed at it for a full minute, not out of shock, but out of calculation. They thought I'd panic. Instead, I opened a new tab and forwarded the email to Marianne, my attorney. The subject line was, "Fraudulent document attached." Her reply came back within 20 minutes. "Do not respond. File a police report immediately." So I did. I walked into the station, handed the printout to the officer at the front desk and said, "My son forged my signature in an attempt to claim legal ownership of my house." They didn't dismiss me. They took photocopies, asked questions, and wrote everything down. No shouting, no threats, no theatrics, just facts, dates, and evidence. Back home, I brewed another cup of tea and sat in the quiet. The message notifications kept flashing, but I left my phone on the counter. I didn't need to fight. I just needed a record. They had crossed the line, but they weren't prepared for what happens when you try to rewrite history and the woman you're stealing from kept every receipt. The voicemail came from my bank's fraud department. A calm voice, a polite tone. "Miss Mercer, we're calling to confirm a refinancing application submitted using your property address. We noticed some irregularities and wanted to verify you initiated the request." I called back immediately. The woman on the line was efficient. "It was submitted online under your name with your address and partial social security number, but the email listed belongs to a lmercer.finance@gmail.com. Is that you?" "No," I said flatly. "That's my son." There was a pause. Then she said, "We've already flagged it. You won't be held responsible, but we recommend filing a formal report." I thanked her, hung up, and felt the first flicker of something colder than anger. Pure calculation. An hour later, I received a certified letter in the mail. The return address wasn't familiar. Inside was a filled-out power of attorney request. Chloe had submitted it through a county clerk's office, claiming I was showing signs of cognitive decline. She'd even attached a physician's note. I read the signature twice. It was from Dr. Leanna Whitaker, Chloe's cousin. She'd come to dinner once 6 months ago, said barely a word, and now apparently believed I wasn't competent to manage my own life. They weren't just trying to take the house, they were trying to take me. The next morning, I walked into the same police station as before and filed my second report, this time for attempted legal manipulation and falsified medical documentation. The officer raised his eyebrows when he read the doctor's name. "Related to the woman you're evicting, is she?" "Cousin." "Nice, right?" He nodded and stamped the forms. Back home, I changed the locks to my filing cabinet, hid the originals of every legal document in a new location, updated passwords, alerted my lawyer, and froze my credit reports. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a takeover attempt. Slow, deliberate, and dressed in family smiles. But they underestimated something critical. You can lie about someone's memory. You can even forge their signature. But you can't erase the clarity of a woman who's already one step ahead. I texted them Sunday morning. Dinner 6 p.m. Just the 3 of us. "Beyond time," Chloe replied with a thumbs up. Liam didn't answer. They arrived 5 minutes late. Chloe wore too much perfume. Liam looked like he hadn't slept in days. The dining room table was set for 3, but there was no food, no wine, no silverware. Just 2 manila folders in the center, perfectly aligned. Chloe raised her eyebrow. What is this? I gestured toward the chairs. Have a seat. They sat. Liam looked nervous. Chloe looked bored. I opened the first folder and slid it toward them. This is a restraining order, already signed and filed. It prevents you from entering this property or contacting me directly. Chloe scoffed. Are you serious? I didn't answer. I opened the second folder. This is a civil fraud complaint for document forgery, attempted identity theft, and abuse of fiduciary trust. Liam's face drained of color. Chloe stood up. You're unbelievable, she snapped. After everything we've done for you, this is how you treat us? I looked up her calmly. Everything you've done to me, not for me. You're just a bitter, lonely witch, she hissed. I smiled. And you're trespassing. She froze. I reached behind me and pressed play on the small voice recorder I placed there earlier. Chloe's voice echoed through the room. Once we get the deed, we'll talk to that memory care place. Liam closed his eyes. I suggest you both leave now, and don't come back unless you're ready to face this in court. Chloe grabbed her purse. Liam followed her, his eyes on the ground. Neither of them looked back. I waited until I heard the front gate click shut. Then I gathered the two folders, placed them in my safe, and poured myself a fresh cup of tea. By the time I sat down in my chair, the house had returned to stillness. But this time, it wasn't fear that filled the silence. It was something sharper, firmer, and it was mine.
The house remained tranquil after they departed. No more slamming doors, no podcast voices echoing through the walls, no footsteps at midnight pretending not to raid the fridge. Just me. I replaced the curtains in the guest room first, the ones Chloe had chosen. Too loud, too cheap. They went straight into a donation bin. I repainted the walls with a color I liked, not trendy, just soft, quiet, mine. Word got around quickly. Chloe posted a vague message online about betrayal and ageism. I didn't read the comments. Liam moved in with Chloe's brother, who apparently didn't know he was coming until the bags hit the floor. He called me once, trying to clear the air. I let it ring. Some bridges aren't worth salvaging. Some never were. I now keep the deed in a fireproof box, the trust updated and sealed. My pension deposits are rerouted to a new bank under a new name. I check the locks twice each night, not out of fear but out of habit and pride. The garden started to flourish again, even though I'd nearly let it die last spring. It's funny how things recover when they are no longer being stomped on. I had my tea on the back porch most mornings, stronger than before, hotter. I stopped diluting it with cream, as I used to when I worried about sharing it. I drink it black, just like my patients. Neighbors waved, the mail carrier learned my name. I started baking again, small batches for no one in particular, just for the smell, just because I could. I didn't miss them. Not the noise, not the entitlement, not the slow unraveling of my own space beneath someone else's assumptions. The locks stayed changed. The trust stayed filed. The tranquility stayed put. And the silence, it didn't ache anymore. It sang.